Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome to another episode on Little's Law YouTube channel. So, in our previous video, we saw how to create a web services testing using LoadRunner. So, the same way, in this video, we are going to see about how to create the web services scripts or how to set up the web services scripts for the load test or performance testing for the web APIs. And in our load runner, we have set up only the GET requests. But today in this Neoload session, we are going to see how to set up the requests for both GET and the POST request. And on top of it, we are going to see one of the actions, which is the transaction, like how to add the transaction folder and how to set up the think time as well. So without any delays, let's dive into the session. So once again, I welcome you all to Little Slaw YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe, like, and share the video with your friends. So now, so now let's start with a basic API, a web API, which is basically a GET request. So GET and POST requests are the basic web API requests that we do as part of the testing. And what is a GET or POST? I have taken a detailed session about GET, POST, the delete methods. So I have shared the link as well in the description section. If you have not watched it, you can just go through the description link and watch the video and understand what does the GET do, the POST, and the other methods do. So let's now start with the basic GET method, the GET API. So I'm going to the user path. So I'm currently I'm now having I'm in the user path session, which is the design part. So and here I'm in the user path section, and let us create a new user path. So I'm right clicking on the user path and going to create a user path. And I'm clicking new user path. So this will help me to create a new user path. So I'm giving us API underscore get, and I'm clicking on OK. So we have got the new user path here. And to create the get requests, we will need to go inside the actions folder. So I'm going to the actions folder and do a right click on the actions folder and insert as a child. Right click and go to insert as a child. Insert as a child, where you will need to select the request, and under request you'll need to go to the HTTP request. But apart from that, we still have lot of other protocols that are getting supported by the Neoload, that is the AMF request, GWT, Hessian request, Java serialization request, Oracle Forms request, various push messages, RTMP request, RTMPT, CBEL, SOAP request, Silverlight SOAP request, media request, WebSocket channel, and WebSocket request. We will see them on how to create the scripts for each of these various different protocols in our future sessions. So for now, we will start with the HTTP request. But before that, let us create a transaction folder. So now we have a transaction folder. So this transaction folder will help us to segregate or to identify the name or to easily understand the response time. So I'm giving us 01 underscore get request. And under this transaction folder, again, I'm right clicking on it, clicking as selecting insert as child, and I'm selecting the request again and doing and opening the HTTP request. So now I have got the window to configure the HTTP request. So here I am giving the request, and the format has to be like the method of the request that we are giving. So now I have this get request. So the method of the request should come first, and then the URL or the web API URL. So this has to be the format, and if it is not the format, we will not be able to configure it. Let me just give a demo on it. So if I'm giving only the URL, the API URL, and if I'm clicking on create, I won't get it, since it will say that the first line is invalid. You understood, right? So we have to give like what kind of request is that? Is that a get or a post? So I'm giving us get now. Yes, better we have to configure rightly at the very first time. So let us try that. So I'm again selecting this, going to insert as child, and I'm selecting the HTTP request here. So get, and I'm giving the URL and clicking on create. So now you can see here that at the very first moment, all the parameters have come. So previously it did not happen. So please make sure that you create the request, the API with the correct request format to avoid any mistakes to happen. So this is how we configure it, and let us validate the request. So I'm clicking on check a user path where we can validate the script, and I'm clicking on start checking. So now the execution have completed, and this is the request, which is the get and the URL, and HTTP 1.1 is the method, and the host is universities, which is the server name, and the response, yes, it is valid, which is a response code of 200, and we have got the response, the correct response. So let's now see how to do the parameterization for this API request. And let's go to the parameters part, the variables section, and click on the variables part. And let us now create the set of countries where we can use it to parameterize for this particular get request. And click on this new variable part. And I'm clicking the list, since we can give them directly. So I'm giving the name as country and the column as country, or anything which we can easily remember as country name. And the first name would be India. Sorry, it should be add value. So the next is Singapore. The third would be Netherlands. The fourth would be Finland. The fifth would be Norway. So now we have added 5 different values, and let us now make some small changes in the value change policy. So for the value change policy, I am keeping the same setup, which is on each iteration, and it is going to start from the first line, and the order will be sequential, and out of cycle values, the test is going to stop, and I'm giving OK. So let's now replace it here, and I'm double clicking the value. Let us change it. So to change it, I know you all remember that a dollar symbol, a open brace bracket, and then the country dot name, and clicking on OK. Yeah, you're right. So now we have replaced it, and let us now validate it with 5. Let me just try to run a 6 iteration, but still we have 5. So automatically the test should stop at the 5th iteration, telling that the 6th iteration or there is no value for it. So let us now start the checking. So we are supposed to get response for 5 different countries, the universities of different 5 countries here. So let's now see how does it work and what are the responses we get, and if there are any responses, let's see how to fix it. So now the test has completed. So let's now see the responses. And the first response for India, we have got multiple universities. And there is one more shortcut or the best practice, which I would say that if you are in a particular request and if you want to go to the next iteration of that particular request, click on this particular icon or the symbol which shows go to next iteration in the loop. And if you click on it, you can automatically go to the next iteration to the same request. And here we are in Singapore and we are able to see various universities. And now we are in Netherlands. So we can see the universities in Netherlands and it worked fine. And now we are in Finland and we were able to see a few universities there. And next is Norway. Again, we were able to see a lot of universities there. So with that, we have come to the end for the GET request. So where we have configured a GET request and GET request. So without making any changes, so we have given the GET request here. We are not supposed to give a wrong method. So give the correct method while we add the request, and then after we add the request, if there are any values that has to be parameterized, yes, we should do it, because as I have told you in several other sessions, we are not supposed to use the same value multiple times for testing. So please make sure we parameterize the data, so that will actually give us the correct or the valid value in the performance testing results. So now let's move on to a little bit complex one. So now I will show you the post method, which involves an API key. So let's now move to that post request. So I'm creating a new user path here. And the user path will be API post and get. So again, before we start, let's get a transaction. So there are two things. One is we can either drag it here. So last time I have given, I have to shown you how to select it via this right click. So even now we have an other option. So we can actually drag it from the actions folder and we can place it inside the actions container or the actions folder, and automatically we'll get it. So now let us name it as post transaction. So the first transaction is going to be the post transaction. And let me get the URL now. So this is the URL for the post transaction. And I'm right clicking on it, going to insert as a child, and the request is going to be HTTP request. So here we all know the method has to follow the correct format. So I'm giving us post and the URL. So here I have got the access to, the API key as well. And I'm clicking on create. So now we have the request here. Let me change it to form now. And this has to be the access token. So this will come at the end of the request. So I'm giving a question mark and the API token part here. So now let us change this name as access token here. And the value is going to be this. So I'm giving the access token here. And now we have set up the form. So some of the times we might not get every variable that we require. So let us now build it one by one. So now we have got the URL, the post request, and the access token. So let us now run this script and see how does it work and what are all the issues or the challenges that we face while running the request, and we will build it one by one. So we have completed the validation and we can see a response of 422, the response code 422, which is unprocessable entity. But we are supposed to get the 200 response code, but since it's set 422 unprocessable entity, so let us now see what is the response. So it tells us that the email has been left blank and the name has been left blank the gender, and the status is left blank. So which means we have, or we are properly guided that we are supposed to add all these four values. So let's now do it. So we are supposed to add the email, the name, the gender, and status. So let us now do it in the script. Let us now add them. So to add it, go to the post parameters part and click on this plus symbol. And now we can add them one by one. So I'm clicking the email. And in this request parameter, we have two options. One is the name and the value. So they are normally like the key value pair. So the name and the value. And I'm giving the value here, which is littleslaw@gmail.com. So this is just a demo, and it's not my proper uh, email ID. So just for the demo purpose, I'm adding it. So littleslaw@gmail.com, and I'm giving OK. And I'm again adding another plus symbol where we have to add the next value. So let's now check it once on the name. So next has to be the name. Let me add the name here. And the value will be littleslaw. Clicking on OK. And the third has to be the gender. So please make sure that you have the proper case sensitive values here. So don't make any changes in the parameters here. So please give the same or follow the same parameters here. And I'm giving us male as the gender. And the fourth one is going to be the status. Let's now check it. Okay, it's the status here. So let's now add the status part here. And the value is going to be inactive. So that was the format which is expected there. So I'm giving us OK. And now let's again revalidate the script or the step or the transaction to see how does it work, whether it works fine or does it need any more values to get it fixed. So here now we have successfully executed the post request. So the name, the ID is 3795, which is a primary key or a unique key. The ID is 3795 and the name is littleslaw. The email ID is here, the gender and the status is given properly. And the response code is 201 since it's a post request. So we have successfully executed a request. And if you are really lucky, then you can access the logs which you have with the development team. So here you can see the 200 request is a get method and the 201 is a post method. So for more information on this, you can see on one of my videos, which I have did on the get and post method. So let's now one more time execute it and see that, and we can see that the request has completed successfully with the post method, which is a 201, and we can actually see the values here. So this is the page where we can get the values displayed. So now we have we can see here the littleslaw has got generated, has got submitted to their database, and we can see it here. So we were able to do the submit successfully. So few things here, which is for the post method, there is one constraint or one restriction, which is if you are able to, or if you are doing that, the submit again, the transaction would literally fail since those values are inside the system already. So I'm giving a demo on it. So this is one more restriction or one more function of the post method, because we can use the same values any number of times for the get method, but we cannot use the same value for the post method. I have even I have even told this in my sessions as well in my previous video. So you can see here, which is the 422 response code unprocessable entity, which is saying that the field email is already been taken, and we all know how to parameterize it. So just go to the email, do a parameterization, and yes, we are done. So just for the sake of doing it, so I am just replacing it, country.name and at gmail.com. So now we are good. So just remember the get method, we can use any number of times, and the post method, we can use it just only once. If the system is a proper system, it will not allow us to do multiple post transactions. Okay. And now let us complete this with a get transaction. So with that, we'll complete the video. So again, I'll just go to the get transaction of it. So I'm opening a new transaction. So here I'm adding another action. So before that, let me add a transaction folder. So that comes after the post. And now I'm adding a request, which is a HTTP request. And here I am giving the request, which is a get transaction. And I'm clicking on create, which will create an access token here. And let us now add the value to it, which is the user ID. So let us now add the ID which we have created now. So the ID is going to be, let's now search it. It is 3795. We can see it here. It's 3795. So I'm giving 3795. So that will be the get transaction. And we are running it. And in case if we want to, okay, so say what, if we want to get the response from our previous request, yeah, we can do that. And let us now do it. So what we are going to do is, like, we will try to get the request from the previous ID. So let us now, so to do that, let us now do a validation, do a sample run. And with that, I think we can collect the ID, or else we can actually try it from our end. Let us create a variable request. I think we have seen the parameterization. So now let's see the correlation, how to do it. So I'm giving an advanced, and let us go to the variable extraction, that is a correlation part. So some of the scenarios we were supposed to do these kind of activities. So let us now, or let's don't miss that. So let's do it. So I'm clicking on both, and it has to be the ID. And I remember it is ID is equal to hyphen, and which ends as hyphen. So let's now try it. If it comes fine, otherwise we can actually rework on it. And I'm giving OK. So this will create an ID here. I'm clicking OK here. And let me go here, and I am correlating it. Yeah, it's going to be ID. Giving OK. And let us now validate the script and see if something goes wrong, then we'll try to fix it. So the validation has started now. So the very first request, which is the post request, has failed. Just showing. Okay, the assertion has failed. Sorry, the assertion has failed. It's not the request, it's the assertion. So let's now see what has happened. So it shows ID not found, which means, okay, the value, the way we have given the way we have correlated the value is not being properly taken. So let us now do a proper assertion here. And I'm going to the advanced, which is the place where I have did the correlation. So let us now change it, and I am removing it, and I'm giving as comma. So this will actually get us the value of how to get the value from there. And I'm giving OK now, clicking OK. And in the parameters part, let us now change the value to a different country to avoid the post issue. So let's validate the script again now and see how does it work. So now, yes, so the post submission transaction has happened successfully. And again, the correlation value also have went well. And now the get request. So let us now see here. Yes, so we can see here the ID is 3805, which has been created now, and the email ID is india1@gmail.com. So the process that we have planned has went successfully. So let's do a quick recap. So we have started with a get API request, where we have seen of how to set up a get request and how to do parameterization for that, and that has went well. And then we have come to the post transaction, where we have set up a post request and set up the other dependent values as well. And then we made a parameterization to it. We have even see the 422 response code and 201. So just remember, 201 is the success response code for post transaction, and 200 is the correct response for get transaction. And then we have gone to the get, where we got a chance to correlate the value from the previous request. So then we have did a correlation from the previous value, and then we have do the get request, and it went have understood how to do a get, a post, and a parameterization and a correlation with the API request. I think this video is very helpful to you. Please subscribe to our channel, like and share the video with your friends. Thank you so much. We'll meet in another interesting video in our session.